Michael, dude, it's great to have you on the show. I know this is like the first time we've had a call in from you because I think I've heard from the twins multiple times, but this is the first time I've heard from you, so I'm glad to have you on, man.
Yeah, I'm not a talker, so gotta save the voice, especially when we're doing like 5 in a row now.
Right.
But we do have a day off today, so I get a little bit of downtime, so that's definitely helps. But I'm happy to be here, happy to talk with you, Paul.
Yeah, fantastic. So there's a new record out, so I hear anyway. I think it's called Gone.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get it before it's gone. No, yeah, it just dropped last Friday. We're so excited. We've been working on this thing for like a year and a half.
Wow.
And yeah, we put so much just thought and energy and time into this record, and it turned out to be like one of my favorite records that we've done so far. I encourage people to go out and listen to it. The single doesn't quite do it. I mean, I like the single, but it's not my favorite one on the record.
Oh, honesty. I like this.
Yeah, it's not my favorite one. I like it because it's like in your face and it's fast, because I like fast songs.
Right.
But it's not my favorite one. I mean, you dive into this record, there's so much depth to it. So
yeah, and I was listening to it I guess it was yesterday, and man, I am astounded by how diverse this record is compared to ones in the past. I mean, this one just has kind of a sense of a journey in that it goes from different sound to different sound, and some of which I feel like is territory that Red's never really explored before.
Yes, for sure. That's why it took us so long. Like, we were really like, just kind of getting together. We would fly up to Maine and meet with our producer. This is about a year and a half ago. And we would just be there for the weekend and just talk about like what kind of direction we want to go to, what's the content, like all these different things. We really, really try to work out like our thought process on like what direction we want to go to. And then there's a lot of like pre-production of just trying new things, trying different things, and along the way, the whole time thinking about, that Red core, kind of what makes Red sound, but then also trying to push it the limit a little bit as well. And so with this record, like you said, yeah, each song we tried to make its own thing, like Step Inside the Violence and Still Alive and Gone and all the different, songs in this record. We tried to like make it sound unique and by its like a standalone by itself, totally different from each song.
Absolutely. Well, dude, I think you succeeded for sure. Was there any lessons that you guys felt like you learned in the recording of Beauty and Rage that you took into this one and said, okay, we've learned this about us because of this. Now let's do that differently?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I had some major critiques of Beauty and Rage. Although there's a lot of fans out there that are like, oh, Beauty and Rage is my favorite record of all the Red discography. And Beauty and Rage is definitely a personal record for us. It was one of those records that, we're going through a hard time individually, and you can really kind of feel it and see it, like, if you read a lot of the lyrics,
right?
You can feel just like the intensity of that record, and I think a lot of people kind of dived in, people that were going through a struggle or a kind of a dark time in their life, they could feel that and really sense that in that record, and really can make a good connection. So I think a lot of people that did love that record really, really grasped onto it for those very reasons. But a lot of the things, critiques that I didn't like, were not so far as content or anything. It was more of a stylistic thing for me.
Right.
Like, I didn't like the fact that and this is because I'm a vocalist.
Yeah, that's fine.
I didn't like the fact that the vocals were very quiet throughout the whole record.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm singing pretty loud, but they're quiet throughout the whole record. Like, if you listen to it, the music is a lot louder.
Right.
And so people that tend to like guitarists or drummers or people like that tend to like that record because it's so just intense with the music.
Yeah.
So that was my one critique. And then my other second critique of the record was it was kind of slow, like tempo wise.
Yeah.
So all
I
the
can see
songs
that.
were slower. That's why I like this new record, because all the tempos, and that was one of the things going into this new record. Was my critique was, if we're going to make this new record, I want it to sound sonically clear sounding. There was a lot of mid-range kind of tones that we used on the last record,
right,
of Beauty and Rage, that they pushed sonically with the mixer, so it sounds like a wall of sound, but it was like almost too much.
Yeah.
So there was we had a lot of tracks also going on, like strings, programming, a stack of 30 vocals.
Yeah.
And for a mixer, that can get pretty intense.
Yeah.
And it can get kind of muddy sounding. So going into this record, my goal was like, let's find unique pieces or parts that are like standalone by themselves and not like muddy up the tracks. Let's not like put in a ton of stuff. So if you hear the first song, Step Inside the Violence, there isn't a lot going on, but it sounds big because the mixer only gets like a 1-2 pass of the guitar.
Yeah.
And he just, left and right, and then just, jams it really hard. So that was kind of my goal, was to do that. And then a lot of the mixing, like he used some just doing the high end and low end, and then putting the vocal kind of right in the middle, so it has its own little spot.
Yeah.
So those are just like stupid stylistic critiques and things like that. But sonically, I think the record sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So it definitely turned out well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that that it's got a nice balanced sound. It doesn't sound, like you said, like it's any one thing too much, which is always kind of refreshing, because it's weird, because sometimes those ones where it is just kind of like such a wall of sound, as you said, it can almost get tiring after a while, because you just feel like you're just like under this assault, even if they're not especially heavy or especially fast. Yep. Just after a while, you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, I agree. It's the wall of sound that lulls you to sleep. So critique against my own record, I know.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's refreshing though. That's refreshing, because it feels like in most interviews, every band thinks their newest album is their absolute best, hands down, no questions asked. And then you ask them
liked
about
the last record. I liked
yeah.
it. Yeah, I definitely agree. Every band is like, this is the best thing ever. Because they got to promote the record and sell records and
right.
and make money. So
yeah,
that's the business side of it all. But
yeah.
If I was going to critique my last record, sonically that's what I would critique.
Yeah.
Sonically, it didn't sound as good for me.
Yeah.
But lyrically and the content and everything and where we were at, like it was a much needed record for us, and I think definitely reached out to a lot of people that were dealing with some issues with that going on in their life. It was a tough record for us for sure.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to, and the other thing is too, is like, we didn't want to make another of Beauty and Rage this time around. We didn't want to be like, because a lot of people that critiquing this record are saying like, it's not as good as Beauty and Rage, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, if we made another of Beauty and Rage, it would get pretty monotonous.
Yeah.
So it's like, we kind of stepped, over the bounds of, what a Beauty and Rage is, and tried something totally new, and really tried to reach out and make it as best as it possibly could be with what it is.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And I think we achieved it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as far as stylistically, what do you think was like the biggest goal going into this record, as something that you mentioned you guys were going to try some different things, maybe go in some slightly new directions, experiment a little bit? What would you say was the thing that you were most either anxious to try or most worried to try?
Well, we have a Sia cover on the record.
Nice.
I don't know if you know who Sia is.
Oh, I do. That's Peter Fuller's cousin.
Yeah, I know. I found that out recently, and I was like, what? Peter Fuller's cousin is Sia. That's interesting. Yeah, so my producer actually brought it up. He's wanting to, he's like, what do you think of this cover, Sia? And we're all like, I don't know. And so I started listening to it, and I was like, maybe. And so, because stylistically, it's a little bit outside of the bounds. It's a lot of rhythmic kind of singing. Mm-hmm. And the lyrical content's a little, it's about friendships and being afraid to, show your face, which I could see, like, we kind of dive into some of that stuff, where it's being worried about, like, showing who you are as a person. But just lyrically is a little different for us. But it was fun to kind of just step outside of the bounds of, me as a singer. Like, what I usually do and what I go to is very legato. Yeah. Like strung out kind of singing. And so it was kind of fun to like just change it up a little bit. And it's a cover, so it's like, I know some people are critiquing it and saying, I don't like pop songs or whatever. It's like, it's a cover. If you don't like it, just skip it.
And it was funny because I'd forgotten about the cover being on there. So when I was listening to it, I was forgetting that was a Sia song. And when I came across it, I was like, you know what? This is very different writing than I normally think of Red writing. And not in a bad way at all, but I'm just listening to it going, this is just very different. And now it makes total sense, because I'm like, oh, yeah, because they did the cover.
Yeah, and it's really cool because, if you think about the lyrics, too, they're kind of, like this person's being afraid to, like, show their face, and, like they're just, they turn their head and shed a tear. Like, there's all these emotional, like, social kind of things going on, and then the chorus is like, I'm unstoppable, you know, like I'm gonna wear my armor, and you know, I'm gonna show you who I am. And so it's like the verses and the choruses are kind of the opposite of each other. And so we do a remix version of it that's like really slow and like piano driven with some strings. And the way I sing it, it's like really broken. So it's like if you went out there and you're like, oh, I'm gonna win this game, I'm gonna work my hardest, and then you totally lose and you're a failure, and you go home and you're singing the chorus, I'm unstoppable but really broken.
Wow.
So we like to do kind of stuff like that where it's like turned itself on its head. So it's a really cool like take on it. If you check that out, it's in the deluxe version of the record that you can get digitally.
Sweet deal. What was the thought process, I guess, behind the songs that you guys chose to do the remixes of?
We do Still Alive. It's not like a remix, but we do the single Still Alive. We do an alternate version of it that's like an alternative kind of sounding, you know, it's got like hand claps and stuff like that, and it's like some gang vocals and stuff. So it's like almost like a part two.
Okay.
You know, because it's Still Alive is like, what are we here for? What is the meaning of life? And all that. And then the second alternative version on the deluxe is more of like looking for a reason. It's more of like a hopeful kind of answer to the first Still Alive of like, we're looking for a reason, not just why are we here?
Yeah, that's cool. You guys are out on tour with 10 years, and of course they looks like they just dropped a new record too. Is that kind of an exciting thing to be both touring off of like brand new music?
Yeah, we got 10 years and otherwise, and we've all like kind of dropped our records and pretty recently. And so it's pretty exciting to just be out there, and everybody's, you know, when a band drops a record, like it's an exciting time because everybody's just, the music is fresh. And so there's a lot of people that like the crowds are like way more energetic, intense, and because they're excited just to hear the new music. And so it's been a lot of fun. We've never toured with 10 years before, although we've done festivals with them and stuff, and they're really cool dudes. Their music is very similar to us. Yeah. Like stylistically, like some of the subjects that they touch on, you know, so it's cool to be out there with guys that are pretty like-minded, and they're a fun hang too. So that definitely makes it a lot easier.
Nice. So how much left of this tour do you guys have?
We're about halfway through, actually. We're coming home just for a couple of hours just to see our family. It's kind of a surprise for my kids, but
oh, nice.
Yeah, so we've just been FaceTiming, and my youngest, who's 2, he's really mad at me. So every time I FaceTime, he's like, no.
I've got a 2.5-year-old, so I can totally see how that would happen.
Don't look at me, Daddy. I'm mad that you're not here. So it'll be excited to see him because he's a very emotional kid. Like out of all the, because I have 2 older ones. Yeah. But out of all the other kids, he's like really latched on to me. He's kind of like a daddy's boy. So I'm excited to get home and give him a good hug. Very
cool. Now, what do your kids think about what you do?
They definitely like it. We'll get in the van and they'll be like, put in Daddy's music.
Oh, cool.
And so we'll throw in like Feed the Machine or something, and they'll be, banging their heads.
Cool.
Oh, they like it. We've got kind of like an echo chamber kind of a house.
Okay.
So we're sitting at the dinner table and they're really loud. Like my 2 older kids and the youngest too. They're all like, I'll be sitting there and be like, dude, you're sitting right next to me. Like just piercing voices. So like, and like they must have inherited that from me because their voices are just like, which, I like loud, but when I'm sitting down at the dinner table.
Yeah, but you normally have in-ears in, so you can kind of modulate the volume to some degree, though.
Yeah, I can turn it down or turn it up. Yeah, for sure. That definitely helps.
Oh, man. See, I think all kids should come equipped with just like a built-in microphone and then noise-canceling in-ears so that you can just, you can just adjust.
That would be awesome. Maybe someday. Yeah. Maybe someday they'll do that. I don't know if that'll teach them anything, though.
Yeah, probably not.
I have voice modulation. Why am I so loud?
I have no control over the volume of my voice.
Oh, jeez.
Lest I forget, let's talk about this current single because that's the one we're spinning, which is, of course, Still Alive, and kind of the song and kind of meaning behind it and all that good stuff.
Yeah, Still Alive is it's kind of one of the last songs that we wrote on the record.
Okay.
One of the first songs we wrote on the record was called Gone, And that's the title track, and it's the meaning of the whole record. It's like leaving your legacy. Like, when you're gone, what kind of legacy will you leave? It's one of the lyrics in the chorus is the air the only thing you're going to leave? Is the air the only thing you're going to breathe? Are you going to leave like a legacy? Like, are you going to leave? That's not the lyric, but that's what it means. Like,
right.
Are you only breathing the air, or are you actually here for a reason? And so Still Alive kind of touches a little bit on that too. Like, Still Alive is kind of, you almost rip it right out of Ecclesiastes a little bit. Like, a lot of the lyrics of, talking about meaningless and, what's the reason? Why are we here? What's it all for? So we even have that in our liner notes, our credits of like people to, Ecclesiastes 1:1, like read that or dive into Ecclesiastes. It's one of my favorite like wisdom type of books because
right.
It's very like meaningless, blah, blah, blah. It's like kind of like makes you think a little bit of like, especially in America, and how just like everything is available to you. And, we get mad because, we're at one end of the house and like, why can't I get the internet? Because the router's too far away. It's like
right.
First world problems, that kind of stuff. It's like, it makes you think a little, because I've gone over to different countries. I've been to Ethiopia and I've been to Haiti and stuff like that. And so when you see like different cultures and just how they live and how they're more dependent upon certain things, and like especially Christians that come out of those cultures that are more third world type, they're more dependent upon God. And so like when we're in this culture, it seems like we have the I want it now kind of mentality sometimes.
Right.
So we lose a lot of that dependency upon God, I believe, in just kind of relying on him instead of just like, I can do it on my own and everything's at my, finger touch. We have these iPhones and everything's just like at your touch, Google Maps and Yelp and all these things. And just, so sometimes it can get a little cluttered. And so I think it has a really strong message of like, why are we here? Like, what is the point? Especially for Christians, like, what is the point? And I think for non-Christians too, because, we like to leave our music open so that we can be to interpretation. So like a lot of the non-Christian fans, may not realize right off the bat, but they come to realize that we're Christians. So they'll hopefully, and our main goal is for them to like dive into a little bit and maybe think, what is the reason? And I think a lot of people, even if you are Christian or non-Christian, a lot of people do think like, what is the reason? Why are we here? What is the meaning of life? So I think that's definitely a relevant question.
Absolutely. Now, is there anything else that you want to get out there, I guess, about the record or future plans for Red at this point that we haven't touched on?
We're just going to be hitting it hard. We're taking a couple of months off at tour. Anthony's wife's having a baby. And then we're going to be hitting it hard next year. We're going to be going over to Europe and doing some festivals over there. And so we're just excited to get out there and get in front of people. I think people who may have heard, like people that don't like this record because of the electronics and stuff like that, it's like, give it a listen, make a decision for your own. I think most of that is just because we're coming off of Beauty and Rage and just how different it is. So it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's different. So I think, and what I'm noticing too online is a lot of people that were at first like, whoa, that's different. And kind of reminds me of, because I was a big DC Talk fan.
Oh yeah.
Early on. And so it's like jumping from their third record to the fourth record, Jesus Freak, was a big.
Yeah. They've gone metal now.
Yeah. So Stone Temple Pilots. And so, yeah, I remember Randy and Anthony, when they heard Jesus Freak the first time, they were like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
They were totally like that. And I was like, I love this. Because I was like into Petra and I was like, I loved rock.
Right.
So they were like really rap and hip hop kind of, and I loved the third record. I thought Free at Last was great.
Right.
But, it was a big, like, just change from the third record to the fourth record. And I think that's what a lot of people are going to run into is they're going to, it's definitely still rocking. And there's like elements of all of our records in this record.
Yeah.
But then we kind of push it a little further, with electronics. We still have the strings and we still have, like I'd say 80% of the record has strings on it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people love that about who we are. I think we just kind of took it to the next level with adding more atmospheric sounds and just a little bit more of electronic kind of sound. And then live, we're also triggering that live. So you'll see a lot of the cool stuff that we do. Where the drummer has like a pad that he does and does a lot of the sounds live. So it sounds amazing live. So definitely come out to a show if you get a chance.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Well, I'm going to end the interview with a question that I like to ask everybody, if at all possible, and that is, as a lead singer of a rock band, you tour the world, you play rock music, you get to scream into a microphone every night, but what is the most un-rock and roll thing about you?
The most un-rock and roll thing about me? I don't know. Jeez. It's hard to say just because it's like rock and roll, you know, what does that even mean sometimes? Like, you know, I feel like our music isn't like rock and roll. It's more just music that's intense and heavy.
Right.
And that is emotionally driven. Like, I don't want to like peg us into a hole of like, this is who you are because you have heavy guitars, you know, because we also have ballads and things like that that are just, when you think of our name, Red, it's like, it's an emotional color. So you have a roller coaster ride of emotions. It's like we have the Feed the Machines that are like screaming at you and just like high intensity. And then you have your Not Alones, and you're off this new record, you have, you know, Coming Apart. And we have The Mask Slips Away. So these are like ballads and things like that that really just kind of pull at the heartstrings and things like that. So it's like, I don't know. It's hard to say like,
I'm talking about like
rock and roll for us. But for me personally, I mean, I don't know. I like video games. I don't know if that's not rock and roll or not. But I ride a bicycle because I like exercise. I run. I mean, I got 3 kids, so it's like when I'm at home, I'm consumed with childlike behavior. So
this is true. Well, hey, and that works for me, man. That works for me. I mean, it's one of those things where it's funny. Every now and again, I'll ask somebody that, and they'll be like, "I don't know," and then they'll ask a spouse or a bandmate, and they end up coming up with answers that the other person would not have thought of at all. But I mean, understand.
I have my quirkiness about me, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You'll have to, next time if you have Randy or Anthony on, you'll have to ask them.
Okay. All right. We'll do. Well, dude, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you, and hope you get a chance to give the kiddos a nice long hug, and hopefully it won't be too far in between. And thank you again for your time, man.
Yeah.